Howdy chaps, and welcome back to another episode where we are back on the tank again. So this is episode 2 of 6,000, something like that. Just take a random guess. I think that's probably how many parts are going to be in this series, because this is a big job. But I don't know if I'll bore you with too much talk, because one thing I did work out with YouTube is the more action you put in, the more money you make. More talking, less money. Weird, but that actually is how that works. So I'm gonna keep it more action, less talking, and show you what I've been up to. We've been doing a little bit every night after work, you know, an hour here and there with Dad, and as you can see, we've made a bit of progress. Alrighty chaps, now this is where we're up to. We've got the drive sprockets off. Believe it or not, the Ryobi rattle gun was in fact actually able to undo those. Only I think 3 of the 16 studs actually came out with a nut, but they're all separated now. Been working on it. The diff is now free, and the gearbox. So if you want to know if diesel fuel is in fact capable of unseizing a gearbox and diff, the answer is yes, very much so. That all is free. I haven't got all the gears, but I've got most of them, and all the gears and the input shaft, everything spins now, so the gearboxes and the diff is no longer seized solid, so that's a bonus. I've got them off mainly to get them off and clean behind them and whatnot. Now we probably will eventually sandblast this tank through its running gear, but at the moment we're just cleaning and working our way through it, so you know, just taking it bit by bit. Dad has been quite diligently getting it back to bare metal, which is quite incredible really, and we're just putting some, it's not red lead anymore, it's red oxide. It doesn't have any lead in it, so it's not going to kill you. And the theory goes, you know, if we do most of it and it starts to look a little less terrible then when we potentially have all the running gear externally blasted, then you know they'll just go back over that and we can do it again. We've also been freeing up the rear idlers. I think that's what they are, the giant wheel. That wheel slides up and back on that shaft and has teeth that grip in there and a couple of plates, and it's basically how you tension your tracks. So you roll it all the way forward, connect up your tracks, adjust it back on a big nut, do up the plate, do up the giant nut, put a big split pin in, job done, and make sure they're the same at either side. I've been cutting more crap off this thing as I go. That one didn't take much. It actually managed to break this one off, so the farmer, whoever welded that one on, possibly not the world's greatest welder. Step over. I've got these ones off, got to obviously clean them up. Got most, I think all that side off except this guy. That's supposed to be there. Weirdly enough, it doesn't have one on the other side, and I've noticed that not all Stuarts have this weird looking plate welded on here or riveted on. I've still got to take that off. I have got this bolted back on, and what I found was that wherever this was laying, or now I'm just trial fitting everything. I just want to piece it together, trial fit it, bolt it together, make sure I've got everything and everything lines up, then I'll clean up everything and then put it all together for the final time. But you know, sort of winging it. And I had to actually heat this up, have a ratchet strap or a pull thing on there, pulling it that way, this in here, and heat up this to actually, that was more at a right angle, so pull that back around and have this go straight. So we're now pretty good, but I couldn't believe that was bent, although I sort of can because this is bent, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to straighten that. I'm thinking about just cutting that off, cleaning it up, and then putting it back flat and then re-welding it, and then you get your little driver's peephole. Well, it's co-driver. There's a bit of white paint still on it too. I left the rivets in the hole and they poke through the hole, so my theory goes when it's go time to put it together, I can just weld on the shaft and just round and round and round, and it's, you know, going to be as good as gold, and do it to all the others. And then obviously I'm going to probably going to seam weld it in a couple of key areas just for a little extra strength. I'm going to have to replace some of the bolts on the floor, because some of them don't even have nuts on them anymore, they've rusted away. And I've still got to get this off, fix up that linkage, find the holes in the floor, put the seat in, fix the seat. You know, there's a bazillion. Oh, and I re-brazed that once upon a time that was actually threaded and went into the plate, but it's all broken and stuffed, so I've had to braze that on. It's better to have it brazed in than not having it at all, that's my theory. So that's fixed. Pulled the dipstick out, cleaned it, painted it silver, put it back in, because the gearboxes are supposed to be bare alloy, but all the plates are, all the metal are supposed to be painted silver. And from what I can gather on these sticks and things, all the linkages are silver as well. So those rods, the actual sticks, the gear stick, and all the fittings are all painted silver as well. You can almost see some of the silver paint on that diff cover. So I'll redo that. Somebody went nuts with orange paint, so the drive sprockets, the rear idlers of the gearbox are orange. Baffles me. And some of these are freeing up too. The floor drains. That was alright. I think those two front ones are blocked. And I took out the machine gun port temporarily so I could get under there. So, oh, and so I could cut this off too, so that was way easier. So there's a million tasks. So I don't really know what I'm going to do first. But my theory was I might try and get some of these. This is the back piece over here. And I was thinking about trying to get that attached today. So I've got to cut this, bash that, re-weld it, and then put that back on. Because the tank actually looks a lot better with this piece on as well. That is 1.5 inches, and that is 1 inch plate. Yeah, and that's a welded up machine gun port too. So I'm not going to bore you with too much chit chat. I think I'm just going to get some stuff done. Alrighty, so I've just busted off that bracket, which is actually the same as this bracket here. Now I've left this one on because it has two rivets, actually got a plate below it that's riveted through it, and I thought, well, might as well leave it because I think they're the rear sort of mudguard bolts to that, so I sort of wanted to leave that. Sort of having a moment, I was like, do I take these ones off? Or do I take that one off? And this one is actually bent, so, but it's bent in a different way. It's sort of leant over like that, as you can sort of see. So I'm going to take this one off, leave that one attached to the tank, because in the engine bay, hidden behind the fuel tanks, the rivets are all flush. Well, these ones have been taken out unfortunately, but those ones are still in there, so I might just leave them in there and just straighten up this bracket down the track, well, maybe later today. So leave those rivets in there, they're pretty fine. I don't know how people can cut these, how the farmers cut them and then cut through the bracket. I can cut that off without touching the without even remotely damaging the bracket. I don't know how they did it. So I may punch out 1 or 2 Don't know, but my theory goes I could also do it pretty similar to how the other one was, poke them through the hole and then weld on the inside, but I might put a bolt through there because this stuff's going to actually carry the weight of the turret eventually, so I may punch them out anyway. This bracket can stay because it's actually the side one that this huge piece of side plate bolts to, so this one's got its bracket here, that one will have it. I just need a piece of angle iron for here, and then we can get a piece made for the side here, because I don't know if I mentioned before, but actually having another one of those made for the other side, so, and I need that bracket for the other side so that I can make it happen. So it's all going to happen quite well. It's interesting to note that the battery, one of the battery clamps is still actually attached in there. So this is a really good piece, but considering this is bent, obviously this was pushed off a vehicle, somebody oxyed through there and then just pushed it off with like a tractor or something, because this isn't off this vehicle, it's off another one. So yeah, I'll blast the tops off. I know it sounds bad that I've got to cut the rivets, but if somebody didn't do this to it, I mean, I probably wouldn't have cut any rivets, you know what I mean? So it's sort of break a few eggs to save a chicken, if that makes sense, because the chicken can always make more eggs, you know, I don't know. I just thought sometimes things have got to go, and to save the tank, those rivets have got to go. It sounds sacrilege, but that's just how it is. So I'm just going to blast the top off those 4, take that off, clean them up a bit, and see if I can punch them out of that 1-inch plate. I haven't done that yet, but we'll give it a go, and then I might be able to put some bolts in and put that piece on, and then we can do something else. Alrighty, some time has elapsed between the last 2 clips. I have been to Bunnings and I've got myself some bolts, which, where's me rivet? Has the same sort of shaft size as that. I'm making them work. I mean, would you prefer to see bolt heads or something that at least resembles a rivet? Because I just even if I could get rivets, I got no way to repress them in, so bolts is how it's going to be. And I mean, some of it is actually bolted together, as you see at the back there, and cars are bolted together, so I don't really have a problem with bolting some of the tank back together. Ultimately, if I did have a magic huge gazillion ton press to put rivets back in, I would put rivets back in. I've also blasted this and discovered there's a crack through it, but I mean, this piece of metal is like 80 years old, so that's just life. But I'm just whittling these down. I've taken the little square off them so they go through the hole, and then I'm just making them just a wee bit smaller. I'm not actually too fussed because there's so many different size rivets on it. You got a little rivet here, a slightly bigger one here, and then when you get over here, these are monstrous ones. So you've got, you know, this rivet, you got little rivets next to big rivets. I mean, so I don't think it's neither here nor there how big these guys go in. I was sort of just like, well, I wanted to put the tank together, and I don't actually know why I'm trying to justify myself. I'm doing this and you're going to watch it and you're going to like it. So that's my plan. That's my plan. I planned it. And I think that's going to look okay. I've just taken off the whatever that gibberish is on the top of it, and I'm just doing that. And then what I'll do is I will paint some red lead on this, and when it goes back on there, it should look smashing and not too bad. I've decided to leave these ones in because they'll go through those holes there, and I can weld on the inside and do a seam through here. And I was trying to work out one thing I've noted, because I used this plate to go get another one made for the other side. I've worked out that once I get the mild steel plate back, I'm going to actually have to drill some holes in the top and put bolts in there, because this side of the tank has a battery box with a removable lid, and it doesn't have another piece of right angle through there, because obviously the lid needs to be removable. But on the other side of the tank, that piece is riveted in, so I'll have to modify that. But at least mild steel is, you know, drillable. This is armor steel, and it's like, pfft, drill bit, that's cute. It's interesting, there was actually something on this plate when I blasted this. You can see where the rust was and where all the lovely green paint was, amazingly. And I don't, some people don't like blasting. I don't. I probably will blast this, but not immediately, and I'll probably do it in stages. But it's the logistics of it, where I am to where the blaster is, and whether or not he's even capable of doing a vehicle this big. Well, it's not a car, but it's not like, you know, that weighs a ton, this weighs close to 5. You know, it's not exactly lightweight. So it's whether or not he can physically move it into his blasting area. So it's sort of, if it doesn't get blasted, that's because it can't be done. Well, not that I could do it anyway. But I'm still going to try all the little pieces I can blast. So I took this outside of my other blaster and made it all beautiful. And, you know, sandblasting doesn't seem to hurt it at all. Hell, a grinder won't even hurt the steel, so I mean, blasting won't do too much either. The rust has done more to the steel than anything else. Anyway, I'm travelling along, and once I've got these whittled up, we'll do a nice little time lapse of me putting it on. And yes, I will actually eventually take all this back off once it's sort of fitting nice, and clean up all the seams and yada yada yada. But this is all just trial fitting and making sure if anything needs to be tweaked, I can, you know, make it all fit. And I'm trying to find all my bits too, and, you know, just making forward progress. So I'm pretty happy, and I'll catch you up in a second. Alrighty, now that is actually bolted in, and I did actually put a couple of welds on it. Now, you might go, oh, but you said you were going to take it off. I did say I was going to take it off eventually, but I don't want it to fall off in the meantime. So I've only done a couple of welds that I can easily just zip through again and remove later. But that's quite sturdy now. I'm actually pretty happy. I think I've actually got to bend this straight too. I reckon that's leaning back slightly. And at a quick glance, you wouldn't think those are bolts. Like they, you know, we go like this. Wah, wah, wah. Fine. It's never going to be perfect. I noticed that all of the bolts and plates and everything line up, but then of course this sits a smidge above there, and you know there's a smidge of a gap here, and although it's hard up against that that angle line and that one there, so they just must be, you just got to assume that, you know, they're still not, you know, perfect, so there's still leeway in it. So I think I'm going to actually pull out the red lead, not red lead, I say red lead because it used to have lead in it, it's red oxide, and I'm just going to go and in there and move on to some other part of this vehicle. I consider that a pretty good win, considering I was busting off rivets earlier. So once I have painted that, I'll catch you up. Alrighty, so it looks like there's some hope for it yet, actually. That's actually come up quite well. Sort of makes me feel like I'm actually achieving something. The next thing I want to do in this video is I'm going to go inside the vehicle, and I'm just going to finish cutting off that weird bracket thing and that bit of rubbish. Now, I was actually fortunate enough, a good friend has sent me a photo of this tank that he found when he saw this tank for the first time in 1992-ish. It was set up as a tractor and in this whole sort of midsection here was almost like a big, almost looked like a tractor chassis or something with a motor on it and all the stuff, and yes, the controls were, and the seat driving position was up the top. So it was really cool to actually have a photo of this thing set up as a tractor as well. So I've got a fair bit of history in this vehicle now, but now I'm just removing the last few remnants of its unsightly life as a tractor. Gotta get that air strap off, that bit of dagginess, and I might cut that bent piece off and cut it so I can tidy it up and put it back on the right way around. I think on this side of the vehicle, I might zip off that bit of junk too, just because that means I've done all of the ex-farmer stuff on this side of the vehicle, except maybe that. I don't think that's original either. So yeah, I'm just going to keep cutting some stuff off and see you on the other side of that. Alrighty, some more progress. I've cut some junk out of the thing. I've cut the thing off the floor over there. I'm using the word thing as a relative term because I don't actually know what the hell was attached to it. I've actually managed to unbolted this half of the channel, and this half, well, as the theory goes, the bolts can't be tight if they're liquid. So 2 of them were liquefied and 2 of them actually undid, and the most stunning part is actually the 2 bolts that go here and here actually undid, and they actually don't look half bad. I'm like, incredible. One of them is stuffed. It's seen better days, but the more insane thing is that it was undone with this Ryobi 1 Kenobi. A fairly cheap rattle gun, but holy Moses, that has got some cojones. That was able to undo some very tight bolts. Yeah, so I rate the Ryobi rattle gun fairly high, as quite strong. Actually, I've snapped a few bolts with that one too. I'm doing them up a bit too much, one too many duggers. I think I'm going to wrap out my day here cleaning the floor a bit more, so I'm not going to actually bother anyone with filming that because it's about as exciting as watching paint dry. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Tank Restoration. It's gonna be a 6,000 part series because this is going to take some doing. But it's funny, it's just like a million small jobs. You know, you got to go up here, you got to cut that bit off, and you got to grind that, and there's another task done. I got to go down there, I've got to rejoin some bits back together. I got to go over there and cut some stuff and grind some stuff. I've got to punch out a bunch of rivets. I've got to undo these at some point. You know, it's just job after job after job after job, and then I've got to clean up these bits because this is the back of the tank, and I've got to clean up that bit, and I've got to make a front bit. You know, it's just, you know, almost endless. And you can actually understand why tank restorations take years. And yes, guys, I do know about the mob in Cairns, and they do incredible work, but they have like 10 guys who are on tanks full time, and that explains why they get stuff done to a quite extensive rate. I am but a humble backyarder. So I'm doing the best I can with what I got, and the only person I've got to please is me, and I'm pretty damn happy. So if you want to follow along, like, share and subscribe. If you don't, carry on your day. But I'll catch you up on the next episode. I don't really know what my week's entitled. I'm sort of waiting for that Commodore to sell so I can continue on the EJ. So there's a few things. Also, total side topic, the Bush Rec ZF Fairlane, I'm not doing that anymore because, well, there's a giant rusty lump sitting in front of you. That explains why I'm not doing that. If anybody was keen to take on that project, which it is a factory Wild Violet white interior Continental Fairlane, contact DJ at Automotive Carnage because he's still got that. You can get that off him. I've decided to palm it off because, well, you're looking at the reason why. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Enough chit chat. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, if you did, woo! I'll see you around, chaps.